the dark and strange origins of everyday inventions you never knew existed. Some of the greatest inventions in history didn't come from genius planning, they came from accidents, failures, and downright bizarre ideas. Would you believe that chainsaws were originally made for childbirth? Or that Coca-Cola started as a cure for drug addiction? Today we're diving into 11 weird innovations that had shocking origins. Stick around, some of these will make you question everything. 1. The chainsaw, a tool for childbirth. Chainsaws and childbirth, two things that should never go together, right? But in the 18th century, childbirth could be extremely dangerous. When a baby got stuck, doctors had to perform symphysiotomy, a brutal procedure to widen the pelvis. To make this easier, Scottish doctors John Aitken and James Jeffrey invented a small hand-cranked chainsaw to cut through bone during childbirth. Yes, the chainsaw was originally made for women in labor, not trees. It wasn't until years later that someone realized, hey, this might be useful for cutting wood. 2. Listerine, from floor cleaner to mouthwash, and even a gonorrhea cure. In 1879, Dr. Joseph Lawrence, inspired by the antiseptic principles of Dr. Joseph Lister, created a powerful disinfectant and named it Listerine in his honor. Originally, this liquid wasn't for fresh breath. It was marketed as a surgical antiseptic, a floor cleaner, a cure for sore throats, dandruff, and even gonorrhea. But sales were low, until the 1920s when Jordan Wheat Lambert, the owner of the Lambert Pharmaceutical Company, teamed up with a marketing genius named Gordon Seagrove. They didn't just sell mouthwash, they sold fear. They popularized the term chronic halitosis, making bad breath sound like a serious medical condition. Suddenly, people became obsessed with fresh breath, and Listerine went from a hospital antiseptic to a billion-dollar mouthwash industry. So next time you gargle, remember, you're using something that once claimed to clean floors and cure STDs. 3. The microwave, a melted candy bar that changed the world. In 1945, engineer Percy Spencer was working on radar technology when something weird happened. A chocolate bar in his pocket melted. Intrigued, he placed popcorn kernels near the device, and they started popping. Then he tested an egg, which promptly exploded in a lab assistant's face. Spencer had accidentally discovered that microwaves could cook food. Soon after, his company Raytheon created the first commercial microwave oven, originally called the Radarange. It was as big as a refrigerator, but over time, it shrank in size and became a kitchen essential. 4. The vibrator, a 19th century medical treatment. In the 1800s, doctors believed that female hysteria was a real medical condition. Symptoms included anxiety, mood swings, and irritability, basically anything that made women seem too emotional by Victorian standards. The treatment? Doctors would manually massage women's pelvises until they reached what was called a hysterical paroxysm, which in modern terms means an orgasm. This was time-consuming for doctors, so in 1880, British physician Dr. Joseph Mortimer Granville invented the first electromechanical vibrator to make the process easier. At first, vibrators were strictly medical devices, but by the early 1900s they started appearing in household catalogs, right alongside sewing machines and kitchen appliances. Once they started appearing in adult films in the 1920s, doctors suddenly decided they weren't medical anymore, leading to their rebranding as sex toys. 5. Post-it notes, a useless glue turned into a billion-dollar idea. In the 1960s, Spencer Silver, a scientist at 3M, was trying to create a super strong adhesive, but he failed. Instead, he accidentally made a glue that was too weak to hold things permanently. 4 years it sat unused, until 1974 when another 3M employee, Art Fry, had a problem. His hymn book, bookmarks kept falling out. He thought, what if I could create sticky notes that don't damage paper? And just like that, the Post-it note was born, proving that sometimes failed experiments turn into billion-dollar ideas. 6. Coca-Cola, a cure for morphine addiction? In the late 1800s, Dr. John Stith Pemberton, a pharmacist and former Confederate soldier, had a serious problem. He was addicted to morphine after being wounded in the Civil War. Desperate for a cure, he experimented with medicinal drinks and created Pemberton's French wine coca, a mix of coca leaves and cola nuts, marketed as a health tonic. But when alcohol prohibition hit, Pemberton had to tweak the formula. He removed the wine, added carbonation, and rebranded it as Coca-Cola. What started as a cure for addiction eventually became one of the most addictive soft drinks in the world. The irony is almost too good. 7. The Super Soaker was invented by a NASA engineer. The Super Soaker, one of the most legendary water guns, was actually invented by a NASA scientist, by accident. In 1982, Lonnie Johnson, an aerospace engineer working on the stealth bomber and spacecraft systems, was experimenting with high-powered water pumps. One day, while testing a pressurized system in his bathroom, he accidentally shot a powerful stream of water across the room. That's when he realized, this could be the most powerful water gun ever made. After years of tweaking and pitching the idea, the Super Soaker launched in 1990 and made over $200 million in the first few years, turning a NASA engineer into a toy industry legend. 8. The guillotine inspired the modern paper cutter. The guillotine, the infamous execution device from the French Revolution, has a not-so-deadly descendant, the paper cutter you see in offices and schools. The original guillotine was designed by Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotine to humanely decapitate people with one swift motion. After thousands of executions, people realized that the mechanism was actually brilliant, just maybe not for chopping off heads. Over time, a miniature, desk-friendly version was created to slice paper instead of people. Now it's just an office tool, unless you work in an evil villain's lair. 9. Fanta was created because of Nazi Germany. Most people know Fanta as a fun, fruity soda, but almost no one knows it was born out of wartime desperation. In the 1940s, Coca-Cola was hugely popular in Germany, but when World War II broke out, the US cut off exports of the key ingredients needed to make Coke. This left Coca-Cola Germany in a tough spot. They couldn't get the syrup, but they still wanted to sell a soft drink. So, the head of Coca-Cola Germany, Max Keith, decided to create a new beverage using whatever ingredients were available. What did they use? Leftover fruit scraps, whey, a byproduct of cheese making, and beet sugar. The result was a new drink with a unique fruity taste, and they named it Fanta, short for the German word fantasy, imagination. After the war, Coca-Cola took back control of its German operations, and Fanta was rebranded into the bright, fun soda we know today. So next time you drink Fanta, remember, it was originally a wartime survival drink, born out of necessity in Nazi Germany. 10. Barbed wire was first used in warfare. Barbed wire might just seem like a way to keep cows from wandering, but it was originally a terrifying battlefield weapon. While it was invented in 1874 to help farmers control livestock, its potential for war was quickly realized. In World War I, armies used miles of barbed wire to create impenetrable death traps, slowing enemy soldiers and leaving them exposed to gunfire. After the war, it returned to farms and fences, where it still causes pain, but at least it's no longer part of trench warfare. 11. Sanitary pads were invented for World War I soldiers. Before sanitary pads became a women's hygiene product, they were actually created to treat wounded soldiers during World War I. In the 1910s, Kimberly-Clark, a company that made paper products, developed a new material called silicotton. It was 5 times more absorbent than cotton and much cheaper to produce. The US military snapped it up and used it as bandages for battlefield wounds. But here's where things get interesting. Nurses on the front lines noticed how absorbent it was and began using it as makeshift menstrual pads. After the war, Kimberly-Clark saw an unexpected market opportunity. In 1920, they repackaged the material into disposable sanitary pads and launched Kotex, short for cotton-like texture. What started as a wartime medical necessity became a game-changing product for women's health. So next time you see a box of pads, remember, it all began in the trenches of World War I. It's crazy to think that some of the biggest innovations in history came from failures, accidents, and even fear-based marketing. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more mind-blowing facts. Who knows? Maybe your next mistake will turn into the next billion-dollar invention.